Thinking about moving to Mexico and wondering how to stay long-term without working? The permanent resident visa through economic solvency could be your ticket. But how do you qualify? What exactly do you need to prove to Mexico that you're financially set for life here?
We're covering everything you need to know to get a permanent resident visa through economic solvency, the financial requirements, the documents, and the step-by-step process. Let's get into it.
So first things first, what exactly is economic solvency? Well, it means showing the Mexican government that you have enough income or assets to support yourself without needing to work in the country. It's a way for them to ensure that residents won't become a financial burden on the system.
And there are two main ways to prove economic solvency for a permanent resident visa, through monthly income or savings and investments. We'll break both of these down.
Keep in mind that there's also the option of applying for permanent residency after holding a temporary resident visa for 4 years. This might be a better option if you're not ready to show a large amount of income or assets up front. It gives you a bit of time to establish yourself in Mexico before transitioning to permanent residency. We'll explain both pathways a bit later so you can decide which one suits you best.
By the way, we're giving away a free visa requirements for Mexico guide to make this process even easier for you. To get a copy, simply write Mexican visa right down below in the comments and we'll send it right to you.
For monthly income, you need to show that you have a steady income over the last 6 months of at least 500 times Mexico's daily minimum wage. In 2025, that comes to roughly 139,500 Mexican pesos, or about 6,975 US dollars per month at a 20-to-1 exchange rate. Seems high, right?
Yes, it does, and it's only going to get higher. Mexico's minimum wage has more than doubled in the last 5 years. This means that just 5 years ago, the monthly income requirements was approximately 61,610 Mexican pesos instead of the 139,500 Mexican pesos required today. So that was only about $3,000 versus what the requirement is today.
And there's no sign of it slowing down.
Not at all. Note that we're using a 20-to-1 exchange rate, but this fluctuates. In the last year, the exchange rate has varied from 17-to-1 all the way up to 21-to-1. That's like a 20% swing. It's not a big deal if you're just buying a street taco, but when you're trying to prove monthly income, that could be a difference of over $1,500 per month.
So if you qualify for this pathway to permanent residency, jump on it now. This income can come from things like pensions, retirement funds, or even rental income. Basically anything that guarantees you won't need to work while living in Mexico.
The second way to prove economic solvency is through savings and investments. You need to show that over the past 12 months, you have assets worth at least 20,000 times the daily minimum wage. That's about 5.58 million Mexican pesos, or approximately 279,000 US dollars, at a 20-to-1 exchange rate. Again, since the number is tied to the minimum wage, it's only going to go up, and fast.
This could include things like bank accounts, stocks, or other investments. Basically anything that you can turn into cash if needed. Just make sure that you have all the right documentation to prove these assets. You must prove that you have had these assets for a full 12 months before your application.
Cryptocurrencies and precious metals are not accepted as qualified assets. So if you have crypto or gold, you'll need to convert them into traditional savings. But remember that over the past 5 years, the required amount has increased between 12 and 20%. So to be safe, you need to take the current number and increase it by at least 30% to account for the minimum wage increase next year and the possible rise in the peso.
Note that if you plan to use retirement accounts like your 401k or an IRA, most consulates will require you to already have the ability to draw from them. As an example, if you are 58 and a half years old and you don't plan to move to Mexico until you're 59 and a half years old, the age you qualify to start drawing from your retirement accounts without penalty, most Mexican consulates will not accept your retirement accounts since you don't currently qualify to draw from them. Now that you know the financial requirements, let's talk about the documents that you'll need. You'll need to provide proof of your income. This could be bank statements, pension records, or investment account statements for the last 6 months to 12 months, depending on whether you're showing income or assets.
You'll also need personal identification documents like a valid passport, a recent passport-sized photo on a white background, and proof of your legal status in your current country of residence for non-citizens. Bring all originals and multiple copies of everything. Most consulates will not make copies for you, and you don't want to get caught without the necessary copies and have to leave and figure all that out.
If you're bringing dependents like a spouse or children, you'll need their birth certificates or marriage certificates. And don't forget, if these documents are issued outside of Mexico, they'll need to be apostilled or legalized. There are online services now that will apostille your documents for a fee. You don't have to drive to the government offices anymore to do this, like we had to do back in the day. It's actually very convenient and very easy to do.
It's about $150 or $150 plus the shipping fee if you need it expedited, so not too bad.
I mean, it's not inexpensive, but it's convenient. You don't need to leave your house to do it, and it gets mailed right to you.
Yeah, and when we did it, we had to drive all the way to Sacramento from San Francisco, so it turned into a whole day thing. And here's something really important that many of us may not even think about. It's important that your name is the same on everything. For example, if your name is Michael John Smith on your passport, and Michael J. Smith or Michael Smith on another document, your application will be rejected. And if you're currently using your maiden name, but your retirement account shows your married name from a prior marriage, the consulate will reject your application. If your name has a typo on any document, for whatever reason, the application will be returned unprocessed. Next up is the application process. You'll start by applying at a Mexican consulate in your home country. You'll have to pay a non-refundable application fee, which varies consulate by consulate.
And here's a pro tip. This does not have to be the consulate nearest you. Keep in mind that each consulate uses different exchange rates. So if you're on the cusp of qualifying, shop around. You might find that while you don't meet the financial requirement in one consulate, you might qualify in another. You'll submit your documents and you may be asked to attend an interview. Remember to triple check that you have everything: originals, copies, proper name spelling, and the required apostille documents. You don't want to have your application rejected and have to return another day, especially if you're traveling to the consulate. People in Hawaii, for example, need to travel to the mainland to submit their application, and that's quite a journey to have to repeat.
Once your visa is approved, you'll get a temporary visa for up to 180 days. Then, when you arrive in Mexico, you'll need to complete the residency process with the National Institute of Migration, or INM, within 30 days. This includes submitting any additional documents and paying the applicable migratory fees. Once everything is approved, you'll receive your permanent resident card.
It's important to note that many consulates require applicants to be retired to bypass the temporary residency visa and apply directly for the permanent residency, even when the applicant has the economic means to qualify. The income requirement for a permanent resident visa is higher than that of the temporary resident visa. So if you're planning on staying in Mexico long-term without working, this is the path that you'll want to consider.
But here's a pro tip. If you have a current salary that satisfies the monthly income requirements and wouldn't qualify otherwise, you should talk to an immigration lawyer about your situation. While some consulates may ask applicants to show they are retired or have retirement income, it's not a strict requirement for all applicants or consulates. You may still be able to apply for permanent residency with other forms of active or passive income, even if you're not retired.
Another thing to keep in mind is if you're applying with a spouse or children, their financial needs will also be factored in, and you may need to show additional income or assets to support them.
So to qualify for a permanent resident visa via economic solvency, you'll need to show either significant monthly income or substantial assets. You'll also need the right documents, and then you'll complete the application process with the consulate of your choice in your country of residence and in the INM office in Mexico.
It sounds like a lot, but it's all about proving that you can comfortably support yourself while living in Mexico. And once you've gotten everything in order, the process is pretty straightforward.
If you have any questions or need help with the application process, drop a comment below.
And don't forget to check out this other video about the different visas offered and their requirements. We've got plenty of info to help you make your move to Mexico as smooth as possible.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye, everybody.